Welcome to another episode of Eatin' with Joe. Today I'm headed back to the grill to make some food that you probably didn't know existed, but is considered a little slice of heaven in New England. You're going to really want to stick around for this episode if you're interested for some new ideas for your summertime menu. I'm continuing my tour of the states and trying the most iconic food from each state that I visit. Today I am in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island, one of the biggest sailing areas in North America. Okay, maybe I'm not really in Newport, and maybe I'm not really in Rhode Island, but I'm just trying to get you in the mood for the food that I'm going to try today. Now before I get to eating, I'm going to show you how to make a food that you can find throughout New England, but it's pretty much agreed upon that Rhode Island does it best. The food? Clam cakes. Now bear with me because it's going to be worth it. Have I ever steered you wrong? Now don't get all squirrely because they contain clams. I know clams aren't exactly the first thing that people think of when you talk about seafood, but the way they're prepared in this recipe, it all goes extremely well together. So what are clam cakes? I'm glad you asked. They're not this, they're not these. What they are lightly battered and flash fried in oil, and you can do it on the grill. The recipe I'm using calls them something closer to a clam donut or a clam beignet. And if you've ever been to New Orleans and had a beignet, well, that's a pretty good place to start. All right, so let's get out of pretend Rhode Island and head over to the grill. All right, here I am back at the grill. You know, you never know exactly what I'm gonna be making back here. Today, it's a little bit different than things that I've ever done before. It's my first time ever making this recipe, so it's gonna be an adventure. I'm glad you're here watching. Okay, before we get grilling, please remember to like it if you like what you're seeing, share it if you know of someone else that would like to see this, and I would love it if you would subscribe. Remember to hit that bell for notifications so you never miss another episode. I'll whip through the recipe here, show you how it's done on the grill, and start eating. Again, I'm gonna have the recipe for this in both the description of the video and in the comments below. Hey man, we're all cooped up these days. No better time to try something new. Again, this is my first time making this, so let's see how it turns out. Now there are a couple different reasons why I'm making this on the grill today instead of inside. First, we're gonna be deep frying, and deep frying is not exactly a family-friendly event. If you do it outside, there are no smells inside the house, there's no smoke inside the house, and hey man, it's summertime. Get out to the grill as often as you can. So the first thing you need is the item that every kitchen needs, an iron skillet. Every house needs at least one of these. We have 3, and it's gonna go right on the grill. Just that easy. And then we're going to fill it up with oil. We want a low smoke oil, so either use corn oil, peanut oil if you don't have any peanut allergies, and we're going to heat it up to about 350, 375 degrees. So you can use a thermometer to check the temperature, or you can even drop batter in to see if it's ready. If it smokes too much, it's too hot. If it doesn't bubble at all, it's not hot enough. Real scientific. I'm going to fill it up about halfway so there's plenty of room for the batter to get in and it doesn't overflow. All right, so in this recipe, you start by making the batter by keeping the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients separately. First, you're going to take a cup and a half of Rhode Island's finest clams, quahogs, little necks, whatever. Well, now, since I'm not anywhere near Rhode Island, I'm going with these. Mince them up really fine, or you can even put them in a meat grinder if you want. Now, the next really important step. Hey, recipe calls for beer, you gotta add beer. All right, so the oil is heated up. It took less than 15 minutes to get this up to temp, or at least I think it's up to temp. This is one big experiment. Did a little batter test, and the batter seemed to be bubbling and floating around, so it seems to be ready to me. Let's start dropping in the batter and see where it takes us. So you put in about a tablespoon at a time, and you don't want to overload the pan, otherwise it cools the oil a little too quickly. So we're going to drop in maybe half a dozen tablespoons. As I do that, they start bubbling. stay together. Looks really nice. The batter is pretty thick, and you see all those chunks of crab in there too. The goal is to get these things flash fried less than 5 minutes. Flip them over in the middle so they stay pretty light and fluffy, but that clam in there is going to be really prevalent. As you bite into this, you're going to taste the meatiness of that clam. Alright, so if any of these stick to the bottom, just dislodge them with a fork or a knife or something. You don't want to splash the oil, be very careful about that. And then it's going to be in there for less than 5 minutes. Flip them after about 2.5 minutes. And if they start to get a little brown, seems like they're done. I'm going to turn the temperature down on the grill. The oil seems to be plenty hot, and that'll keep the oil hot enough where we can keep cooking, but it's not going to get it too hot. And if I didn't mention before, safety first. All right, so that's about 2 minutes. They're looking kind of brown. I'm going to flip them. All right, they seem to be cooperating. Some of them flipped on their own. I don't know, maybe these things have become self-aware. All right, 2 more minutes and we got clam cakes ready to go. So I'm keeping the cover off so the air around it doesn't get too hot and cook these things prematurely. It's coming up on 2 minutes. I think a total about 4 minutes. Looks to be just about right for these. They're plenty brown. They look done to me. Let's see how these look. If these taste half as good as they look, they are going to be unbelievable. Look at these. How good do these look? When they said clam beignet, I think they nailed it. All right, I'm gonna make a whole batch of these because the oil's hot. I got a lot of batter. I'm gonna make it worth my while. Once I'm done with the next couple batches, I'll see you at the table. All right, there it is. This is what mukbangers crave for, a full plate of the good stuff. This is the finished product, and like I said, if it tastes half as good as it looks, it's a winner. So you can eat this stuff with anything. You can eat it with malt vinegar, remoulade sauce, like a New Orleans sauce. I'm going with tartar sauce, and for those of you that saw the hot wing episode, I think you already know my affinity for Frank's red hot sauce, so I'm going to put that in the mix as well. Let's get it on. Again, first time making it. Let's see how it turned out. Holy balls. This is good stuff. Serve them hot, serve them fresh. You got yourself a winner. So Frank's on there. So these are a big deal in restaurants out in the East Coast, again, specifically Rhode Island. But they're also a big festival food. Perfection. And of course, the drink of choice, whatever's left of the beer, and maybe another one. These are fantastic. And you can even see the bits of clam. It's done perfectly throughout. The inside of this looks like a perfect cake donut. So, as I like to do, as I hit each state, eat some of their food, I also like to teach you things that you just may not know about the state we're talking about today. All right, so Rhode Island is the smallest state. You can fit 220 Rhode Islands into the state of Texas. But even though it's that small, it has over 400 miles of oceanfront shoreline. So you can see why it's a huge sailing state. In fact, if you Google sailing capital of the world, this is the result. Newport itself is a massive sailing destination worldwide. It hosted the America's Cup for 53 straight years. And the America's Cup is one of the most famous sailing races in the world. Newport also hosts the longest running sailing regatta in the history of the U.S. Newport also had the very first water ferry in the U.S. Pretty cool. A little more tartar, a little more Franks. Perfect. I'm just going to keep going on these. These are unbelievable. And get this, Newport is home to the most famous lighthouse keeper in the U.S. Her name was Ida Lewis. Google her, pretty fascinating story. And what I think is the most impressive statistic about Newport, Rhode Island, it is home to the oldest continuously operating tavern in the U.S., the White Horse Tavern. All right, just a couple more to go here. These are absolutely phenomenal. Again, don't get intimidated. Iron skillet, about half full of oil, high flame on the grill. It's up to heat in about 15 minutes and you're ready to go. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to say, Uncle, thanks for coming along with me on this experiment. First time through and making them, and I think I hit it out of the park. Give it a try. If you do end up making them this summer, come back to this. Put your comments below on how they turned out. Let me know. I'd be very interested to find out. And until next time, sail away.